Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Today's Cut the Clutter talks about two important issues, one in a fair bit of detail and one somewhat briefly, but there I might add a couple of lines of my opinion as well. So the first one is about what you can figure out, in fact, from my voice. You hear my voice by the month of November and you can pretty much tell the air quality index around Delhi. And the second is about what's happening between the central government and Punjab right now, where the Punjabis think that the central government is being cussed and that the center has blockaded Punjab at a time when trains need to come in bringing fertilizers and coal for power plants just at the sowing period of the Rabi crop. Whereas the center, on the other hand, thinks that Punjabis are being bad children, they are being anarchists, they are being unruly, and they are being obstructive. So we are caught there. So look at these two situations in isolation of each other, but there is also a little connection that I will draw for you in the second part of this Cut the Clutter. So first of all, air quality index. Once again, it is today, you can see that very polluted. If I told you that we are recording at around 3 p.m. on a Delhi afternoon and it is not a rainy day, there is no cloud on top of us, but if this is the quality of air, you can see how polluted our air is. So air quality index at this point in and around Delhi is about 600 for the small particles, small suspended particles, that is 0.25 size. The bigger ones are 10. So 600 is about 6 times more than the highest that is acceptable for us human beings. So 100 is the highest acceptable for human beings, but at this point it's 600. And if you think it's very bad, it is very bad. Many people like me are now reaching out for their inhalers, right? But if this is so bad, and that too in COVID season, I can tell you that in a couple of weeks from now, this is going to feel much better and we are going to miss this second week of November, because this goes up to 1700, 1800, sometimes even more than 1800, which means almost 18 to 20 times higher than the upper limit which is considered safe for human beings. And this happens year after year, year after year, defying a solution. And what happens every year is, every year you have the same Rona Dhona, you have the same breast beating, you have the same TV discussions, you have the same statements of intent. Delhi Chief Minister says one thing, central ministers will say something else, people will trade charges and counter charges, National Green Tribunal will rise up and ban firecrackers, somebody will rise up and ban motor vehicles, somebody else will demand a ban on diesel, somebody else will say even odd, right? So all this tamasha will go on. One reason this problem is defying a solution year after year after year is because this suffers also from Rashomon effect. Now Rashomon effect, as you know, it's like how one situation can be described differently by different witnesses depending on the witness's own predilections or prejudices. But my favorite example is not Rashomon effect, besides the fact that it's become so cliched by now. My favorite example, particularly when it comes to North India's, not Delhi's, remember that's the important thing, North India's pollution situation or air quality situation is the example from Singh is King, the movie. I don't know if you've seen it, but I know a lot of you have seen it, but if you haven't, I will explain to you. In Singh is King, Javed Jafri, my friend, and somebody whose comic timing I am such a fan of, as I was of his father's, Jagdeep's. He plays a character called Mika. In fact, he also plays Mika and the father of Mika. Now this Mika is visually challenged and he is member of a group of hoods, group of gangsters, Sikh gangsters. And it's a funny film. So whenever danger comes in from some side for these gangsters, all of them run in one direction, but Mr. Mika, played by Javed Jafri, goes in a different direction because he has his chosen direction. So that is how we've been addressing North India's air quality problem. And that's the reason we get it wrong. Because each one of us plays Javed Jafri's Mika in our own ways. Because the moment air quality begins to get like this, each one of us goes after our favorite target. Somebody goes after diesel, somebody goes after all motor vehicles, somebody says even odd, somebody says start using masks, somebody says I will start putting up pollution towers, somebody says stop stubble burning in Punjab, pass a law, 5-year jail, 1 crore fine for stubble burning in Punjab. None of this has worked as yet, and none of this is going to work unless you look at the problem as one. So one, you have to look at the problem as a much larger problem, which is not prone to being resolved by any one or two magic solutions. It's a complex problem. And second, you have to stop seeing it as the problem of Delhi or even the problem of National Capital Region. It just so happens that in Delhi, everybody lives here, top media lives here, of course, and that's why you have all this noise. You have all the judges living here, all the Supreme Court is here, the Delhi High Court is here, National Green Tribunal is there, Government of India is there, Prime Minister, all the ambassadors, everybody is here in Delhi. So we tend to focus on Delhi and, if at all, National Capital Region. But if you look at the list of 20 most polluted cities in the world, at any given point of time in a year, India has about 15 of them. India has 15, Pakistan has 2 or 3, then you might find one in Afghanistan. So South Asia, the subcontinent, is very badly affected in terms of its air quality across the year. Now that has to do with its geography and meteorology that you cannot change. But having said that, if you look at those 15 cities, they go as far as Varanasi, which is more than 1,000 kilometers away. They go as far as Lucknow, Varanasi, deep inside Madhya Pradesh. So you can see that this is a problem of all of North Indian plains. So unless you address it as one problem, you cannot resolve it. Second, you have to get the pathology of this problem right, which means when you go to a doctor, you are given a blood test, you see your kidney function, liver function, hemoglobin, cholesterol, etc., etc., etc. And each factor then put together gives you the overall picture of your health. The same is true of this air pollution or air quality. If you look at the air quality, again, each one of us has a specific target. That's why somebody says, right now, what's in fashion is stubble burning. So stop Punjab farmers from stubble burning. They are doing it, and that's why we have a problem. Once again, what is the pathology? What is your blood report? So if you see the blood report, the closest thing we have to the blood report of Delhi's bad air quality or North India's bad air quality is a report done by IIT Kanpur, which I had quoted from in my Cut the Clutter episode 315, a link from which also I am sharing with you today. It's a 334-page report. You can read the executive summary or you can read all of it. A lot of it is hard science, so it may be challenging for many of us. But if you see this report done by 2 professors of civil engineering there, Mukesh Sharma and Onkar Dikshit, they tell you that the air quality issue in and around the capital and North India is much more complicated than we imagine. So what they've done is, they took 6 spots in the city of Delhi and 6 spots of different kinds, one residential, one commercial, one industrial, etc., etc., to see how much pollution there is and then to figure out where it comes from. And once they pick up SPM, then you can put those particles through equipment, spectrometers, spectrographs, or whatever those are called, to figure out what those tiny particles are made of, whether they are 0.25 size or 0.10 size. So they can figure those out. Now, they told us that if you look at these areas of Delhi, then at various points of time in the year, your air quality can be 18 times worse or 7 times worse or 4 to 5 times worse. But generally, if you see across the year, that is winter, summer, rain, everything, if you average it out over 365 days, that's why I keep saying, if you focus on these few weeks of the winter, you will never get cleaner. Clean air is an impossibility. You will never get cleaner air, or at least less dangerous air in Delhi. Because in terms of an annual average of 365 days, Delhi's air quality is 5 times worse than the worst air quality that is considered safe for human beings. So if the limit to what is safe or not too dangerous is 100, then Delhi's average is 500 over 365 days. And when I say Delhi, you mean all of North India. In fact, many cities in North India are much worse off in Delhi as we speak. So if you look at this study, this Kanpur study, this tells you that summer times, the large size particles, that is SPM 10, at the level of 500 in Delhi, whereas what is accepted should not be more than 100 or so. And 52% of it is dust or fly ash. Fly ash comes from power plants all around us. It has some other sources also, which I'll come to. And dust comes because area around Delhi, which is North India, gets very dry in the summer, and summer winds are much stronger. So these winds then churn up this dust, and then the fly ash also, and wind directions are such that this fly ash in the 300 kilometers radius around Delhi, you have coal-fired power plants producing anything between 13 to 15,000 megawatts of power. So all that is churning up this fly ash, which we don't see so much of in winter because wind directions are different. So we benefit from wind directions on the fly ash issue in winter, on the power plant fly ash issue. But summer, this is choking our lungs anyway. So let's not just focus on the winter. In fact, these scientists have also analyzed these particles, these large particles, and they found they are filled with silicon, alumina, and iron, all of which are very bad for us. So a large amount of this large particles in the summer are what is called as crustal. They come from the crust of the soil, that is dust, fly ash, etc., etc. Then even in the summer, what should be 60 in terms of the small particles, 0.25 or 25 mcg, that is 300 to 350. So that is also 5 to 6 times of what it should be in summer, when we think, oh, air quality is not so bad, because we've got used to winter's worst air qualities. Once you get used to surviving 1800, 600, which is now would look like a relief. And once you start thinking 600 is a relief, then 300, 350 of the summer will look like Switzerland or feel like Switzerland, but it's not. It is still 5 to 6 times as bad as it should be at the maximum level. So we are living very suboptimally in our region in North India. Now, if you see the winter pollution, the bigger size is much less than the summer. Also, you find that in the winter, the crustal matter is much less. That is, the crustal matter is only 13% in North India's pollution. That's because I told you there is less dust in the winter and less fly ash is coming in through these wind directions in the winter. Also, winds are not so strong. But where else does this large particle pollution come from then in the winter? Again, this study tells us a suspect that we don't usually notice. They say this comes from burning. 26% of it is called secondary particle combustion, which means you burn leaves, you burn garbage, there is solid waste, municipal solid waste being burnt. Now in a city like Delhi, which produces so much waste, now only 2 to 3% of Delhi's municipal waste is burnt. But can you imagine the amount of waste Delhi produces? How much 2 to 3% of that is? That is burnt in Delhi. And that then adds to this big particle pollution in Delhi in the winter. or secondary particle pollution in Delhi in the winter. A lot of it is from combustion is coming in the form of carbon and nitrous oxide. If you look at the small particles in the winter, which is now our biggest problem, the 25 mcg size, if you look at the small particles, dust only contributes 3.5% of the small particle pollution in the winter in North India and Delhi. 28% of it also comes from secondary particles, essentially from burning. Now, of this, quite a bit comes from stubble burning. So, stubble burning is not 80% of our small particle pollution. It is part of the 28%. So, maybe it's half of the 28%, which means it's 14%, 15% of all our small particle pollution, which is choking our lungs right now. So, even if you stopped all stubble burning, your air will not suddenly become clean in Delhi. It will become a little bit better, but not clean. So, what else is being burnt in Delhi? So, you have 28% secondary particles which are coming from burning. Another 26% in the winter is combustion related carbon, and another 7% is municipal solid waste. So, together this comes to about 60 plus %. How do you address this? You have to then address it by looking at combustion everywhere. Now, this IIT report also tells you that even in 2015, there were more than 9,000 restaurants and eating places in Delhi that were using tandoors or angitis with coal inside them. Now, 9,000 of them, nobody wants tandoori chicken to be banned. Nobody wants tandoori rotis to be banned. Nobody wants any tandoors to be banned. But can't these tandoors now be converted to LPG or electricity? Must a city like Delhi burn so much coal to feed itself good tandoori chicken or good tandoori food at any time of the year? This is an area to address. Also, a lot of the families in North India, even in Delhi, still use biomass for cooking. That is cow dung cakes, wood, coal. So once again, you have to focus on the micro there. If you do all that, that will make as much difference to our air quality as stopping stubble burning. So you have to address both. I'm not saying don't address stubble burning. You have to address both to get a real resolution. Stubble burning in technical terms is called CRB, or crop residual burning. Once again, this study tells you that through winter, the potassium content in our air remains about the same, which is 4%, which tells you that this is coming from combustion or burning. Now, I will share with you a link to this report. You can see the entire report. It's also on our website. So I don't go on and on about the details of this report, because many of you understand technical issues better than me. But the report suggests methods. It has 11 specific suggestions. If you follow those, then the chances are your air will get much better. Now, it's not as if your air will become like Europe's air, or the air like the air in the best cities of Europe, or some resort in Switzerland or Austria or someplace. But if your minimum or your maximum safe limit is 60 for the large size suspended particulate matters, you can still reach about 100. And if for 2.5 your limit is 115, you can still reach about 200. So it will not be ideal, but it will be about 1/10 as bad as it is right now. So these ideas are worth looking at. A question also about Diwali. Now, this Diwali cracker ban. So for a lot of people, the answer to the pollution in North India is ban Diwali crackers. Now, Diwali crackers do cause pollution, but only for a few days. I'm not saying don't go ahead and start bursting. It is very cruel on people who already have chest problems. It's very cruel for so many things. And in any case, nobody has the business to further add to this pollution. And the study tells you that Diwali time, actually your SPM level goes through the roof. Your SPM level during Diwali time doubles, and not just it doubles, but also the levels of barium and potassium, which are two noxious chemicals, very harmful for us. Barium and potassium go up 10 times in the Diwali days. Why? Because this tells you that this is coming from combustion of patakas or firecrackers, or because of the chemicals they have. So barium and this additional potassium 10 times the so-called normal in our already poisonous air. So where is the need to do? So what kind of cussedness is this, that I will use patakas anyway because your air quality is already bad? Why make it worse? And why make it some of the poisonous elements in that air quality 10 times worse? Now, one reason this is defied solution in North India in a long time is that everybody's been focused on Delhi and NCR, and Supreme Court itself takes the largest amount of blame for that, because 1998 the Supreme Court set up an all-powerful environment pollution control authority in Delhi, EPCA, under a retired civil servant, Mr. Bhurelal, and thought they had already ushered in the perfect world. And if you just collect all the orders issued by EPCA, it will look like you need an entire university and 100 PhD graduates to research that. Little bit of exaggeration from me. So a good thing that's now happened is that central government has come up with a new ordinance. It will become a law called Commission for Air Quality Management in NCR and adjoining areas, Ordinance 2020. So this abolishes that EPCA, that committee which was giving confusing orders all the time. This will have another new set of members who will work on air quality management in and around Delhi and NCR in the northern region, and we are hoping that this will be a reform, because this is very, very important for all of us. Now, second thing, and I told you I'll speak very briefly about this, that is the current tug of war between the center and the state of Punjab. It is ridiculous. History tells you, history of more than 100 years tells you that Punjab has a very strong regional impulse. There is no way any central government can arm twist Punjab and Punjabis into doing anything. Now, what's happened is that because Punjab farmers are agitating against the new farm reform laws, they've been blockading trains from coming into Punjab. Then, after a while, they said, all right, we will now relent and we'll let you bring in the goods trains. The center says, what the hell is this? We are a sovereign country and we are the sovereign authority in a federal situation. Railways are a federal property. So unless all trains are safe to come into Punjab, we will not send selectively. What right do you have to decide which trains will come in and which will not come in? That is also a legitimate argument. That is a legitimate argument. Blockade of trains is wrong. The question is, what is the solution now? What is the answer? So the center has responded to this agitation in Punjab by taking the worst possible approach, which is that, all right, balance of pressure, which means you block trains, we will not send, you block some trains, we will not send any trains. We will not send any trains. We don't care if this is your sowing time for Rabi, you need coal in your power plants, you need fertilizer, you need the seeds, your problem. And don't say that we can send goods trains. If we can't send all trains, then we are sending no trains. Now, this is a ridiculous thing to do. It's like the center and the states in a federal system are like parents and children in a family. If your children lock themselves up in a room, you don't further lock that room from outside. You persuade your children to open the room and figure out why they are angry, because you have to live together. You can't break away, and that's the mistake the center is making. The center has made a similar mistake with Nepal earlier. When a fit of anger, they blockaded Nepal, and India is paying for it even now in terms of its supreme national interest. A lot of repair work has been tried, but a lot of permanent damage has also been done. So these are not methods that big governments should use. And the question is not whether Punjab is right or wrong, Punjabis are right or wrong, the farmers are right or wrong. The farmers are always right. You have to reason with them, because remember, Green Revolution came to India because farmers of Punjab embraced it first. That's why Punjab was the cradle of Green Revolution, new seeds, hybrids, new methods of agriculture. Punjab was also the home of paddy revolution in India, whereas you thought paddy would grow only in eastern India. So once you persuade Punjab's farmers that something is a good idea, they will not only embrace it, but they will run with it and they will set an example for the rest of the country. It is the Punjabi example that Punjab set that has today ultimately led to a wheat revolution, say, in Madhya Pradesh, which is now India's wheat bowl. So you have to take the new reforms to the Punjabi farmer and sell it to the Punjabi farmer as a good idea, because Punjabi farmer is obstinate but not cussed. Punjabi farmer can be angry, but Punjabi farmer is not stupid. Punjabi farmer can be difficult, but Punjabi farmer is not lazy. Essentially, the Punjabi farmer is very entrepreneurial. So if you sell this reform as a good idea, that's the little bit of opinion I give, then you might just not be able to resolve this current crisis, but also make the Punjab farmer the biggest brand ambassador of your new agricultural reforms, which we support, which I personally support. I have done an entire Cut the Clutter supporting it, and I have written in support of it. It's a very good idea. These are good reforms. But you cannot sell these reforms to the farmers of Punjab by arm twisting them, not at the point of a gun, not at the point of a blockade. That is the wrongest approach to use with Punjabi farmers, because Punjabi farmers know how to fight. And I will take you back to something that happened in 1906, 1907. I told you that this is a record of 100 years. 1906, 1907, the British came up with an act called the Colonization Bill, under which the government had the authority to confiscate the land of any farmer in Punjab, and that was combined Punjab, Hindus, Sikhs, Muslims all together. Any farmer who died without leaving an heir. So there was a big agitation, and this was called the Pagdi Sambhal Jatta movement. And this movement was based on a song that poet and editor in Layalpur, which is now called Faisalabad in Pakistan, Banke Lal wrote. And it's very familiar because anybody who remembers the lore of Sardar Bhagat Singh or has seen any of the movies on Sardar Bhagat Singh, either the Manoj Kumar version or the Sunny Deol version or the Ajay Devgan version, any version, you have heard this song, Pagdi Sambhal Jatta, Pagdi Sambhal Hoye, Lut Gaya Maal Tera, Lut Gaya Maal Hoye. What does it mean generally? It means hang on to your turban, my fellow peasant, because you are going to be robbed of your wealth and property and also your self-respect. So 1906-07, this movement was led by Ajit Singh, who was Sardar Bhagat Singh's uncle, and Lala Lajpat Rai. Both of them were sent into exile in Mandalay. But still, the Punjabi farmers, Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, all kept fighting. And this endured until Bhagat Singh's times, and even now we chant this. So this is not a panga that you take with Punjabi farmers. You go out and reason with the Punjabi farmer. Otherwise, you are going to be in trouble. So once again, my 2-bit worth of advice, please do not treat the Punjabi farmers as you treated the Nepalese, also because the Nepalese were a very important friend and ally and a brotherly country. But this is people within your own country, and it's a state which has a history of trouble in the past that you don't want to revisit.